What are some things you love about the metal scene, and then some things that you dislike about it?
Oh man, I've been waiting for this question because I could talk about this. Yeah, dude. Oh, I could go on about this shit. But uh, start with the things I love. I love how diverse it is. Um, you can go to like almost any part of the world these days, and there's going to be a metal band and their own cultural style, which is I think is badass. Um, I think the metal genre really is like the genre that I don't know. It touches the entire world, and I feel like the metal fan base is way different than any other genre of music.
Hey, how's it going? You are here for Heavy Art Talk, and as usual, it's your host, Lee. Today, I have Chris, who on Instagram goes by Dementula. Really excited to talk with him. I've been messaging with him for probably like the last 6 months. Seems like a really chill, cool dude. In terms of bands he's worked with, he's done quite a bit of work within the deathcore scene, namely Enterprise Earth and Carnifex, but there's going to be some other ones we'll touch on in the back half. But please welcome Chris to the stage.
Hey Lee, how you doing?
Doing good, man. It's
Good.
really cool to talk with you because we have been messaging, and I get it. Everyone thinks they're good at reading people, but you're always super kind and just really friendly and easygoing. So I wanted to have you on.
Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. Same goes to you. Definitely been super looking forward to this. Love following the channel and everything. You've always been super kind to me whenever I reach out for any advice or whatever. So same to you.
Sweet, dude. Well, just kind of starting out, what are some like movies you've been watching recently, or ones you'd like to recommend to the audience?
Lately, I've been on like a huge Godzilla kick.
Okay, nice.
I'm a huge Godzilla fan. I remember watching like the older, real shitty movies when I was younger as a kid. I thought they were awesome. And I recently made my girlfriend watch like all the newer ones. And I love the newer ones, minus like super unpopular opinion, but the last one I thought was horrible.
Is that one Godzilla vs. Kong?
Godzilla X Kong New Empire.
Okay.
I think is what it's called.
I didn't watch it.
I think I'm in like the minority when I say this, but that movie's horrible. It was ass. I walked out of the theater. I was just like, but the older ones, like the one with Bryan Cranston.
Okay. It's like 2014 one or so.
Yeah, that one and the one after it. I actually just watched those two the other day. A lot of Godzilla. I always have Lord of the Rings on rerun. Those are probably my favorite movie series ever.
Very cool. The original 3?
Yeah, the original 3. The Hobbit trilogy was pretty good too, but nothing tops the original 3 of the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, agreed.
Those are just perfect in every way. What about you?
Well, in terms of Godzilla, did you like Godzilla -1? I was really blown away by that.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one actually. I don't know how I saw that one in theaters. That was pretty phenomenal. I really liked how dark and bleak it was, and a lot of like real life references to some very real life issues that people go through.
Yeah, it was very much like it was probably the best human story that a Godzilla movie's ever had, in my opinion, from what I've seen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to
really drew me in.
For anybody who hasn't seen it, I guess I don't want to give any kind of spoiler, but yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. In terms of other movies, man, let me go TV shows because that's more fresh in my mind. But I mean, like everybody, I was really blown away by the Fallout TV series.
Actually, I haven't watched it yet. It takes me a really, really long time to like start a TV show and watch it. Like it took me like 2 years to finally start watching The Mandalorian. And of course it's a great show. I've been recently watching Ozark.
Yeah.
Ozark's like, we've been on a huge Ozark kick lately. and we haven't finished it yet. So once we finish that one, maybe we'll start Fallout.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I haven't played video games in a long time, so I had no frame of reference. But just going in, I thought the characters were cool. The world's very neat. Really impressed.
I'll check it out, definitely. Yeah, I played games when I was younger, but I'm not really much of a gamer either.
Yeah. Do you play any instruments, or you just do visual art primarily?
Yeah, I actually do. I actually started off being in bands when I was in high school. I was in like some metal bands here and there, some punk rock bands. Played my first shows in high school. Carried out into my early adult life when I was in my early mid-20s, being in a band. But I'm not a very good musician. Like I can like learn songs and play them and stuff. But like as far as like writing a song or coming up with lyrics, I've never been good at any of that stuff. So I don't really do a whole lot of that anymore. I also like just had a real bad experience being in a band with like a heroin addict, and he was destroying our shit nonstop. And I was like, dude, I don't want to do this shit anymore. It's fucking annoying.
Yeah, doesn't sound fun at all.
And like writing a song, having 5 people in a room and like all trying to like write a song, and you're all putting your own creative input into it. It's just so stressful. So,
well, that's why a lot of bands don't operate that way. It's not I think there's some bands that work with that like true democracy. Everybody gets a song, everybody gets a part. But I think a lot of the most successful bands, 1 or 2 people are writing the stuff, and then it's assisted and there's like fleshed out by the other instrumentalists. And once everybody kind of knows their place, it's a pretty good relationship in a lot of cases.
Yeah. And I feel like that's like a newer age thing with bands too. Within the past like 15 years, is like having like a couple of primary songwriters, and the other guys just like you said, kind of know their place.
Yeah.
Because it didn't used to be that way. I feel like, especially like in the 80s and 70s and 90s and stuff like that. But it is definitely like the most efficient way to do things.
Yeah. It's tricky too, I guess, when you're all starting out and you're on the same playing field. When a band's successful and then there's lineup changes and then that person falls into a new role, the new guy,
Mm-hmm.
That's when you can kind of establish that, hierarchy a little bit easier, I imagine.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like, I don't know, being in a band, they all have their own ego, and they all think, well, I should be the primary songwriter because I do this. And dude, it's a nightmare.
Yeah. I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
In terms of art, then, have you been drawing your whole life, or is it more of a recent thing? Kind of what's your journey look like?
Yeah, actually, I have been drawing my whole life. Very first thing I can remember drawing, I was in kindergarten, and I had checked out this book from the library about dragons, and I thought the pictures in it were so sick. And I would just sit there and like trace over the dragon pictures nonstop. And then from there, it just turned into drawing like, I was huge into video games growing up, and I was just drawing like my favorite video game characters, stuff like that, coming up with like different like World of Warcraft warriors, different like stuff like that. I didn't really take it seriously until maybe a few years ago, but I've definitely been drawing my entire life.
Yeah. What initiated you starting to take it more seriously? Was there like a moment, or just you maybe kind of fell in love with trying to push it further? What was that like?
I don't really know. I think the moment I started taking it seriously, I used to live in Wyoming a few years ago, only very briefly though, for like a year. And I spent a lot of time by myself there, and I got really into like watercolor painting and oil painting. And I would just sit at home every day on the weekends and just kind of paint by myself, listen to music. And I really, really dove into like my artistic side during that time. And it really inspired me to like actually like hone in and like learn my craft as best as I could and like really focus on it. Cause before that, it was just like scribbles and doodles of, just stuff that I thought looked cool, some cool skulls, like whatever. But I didn't really start like actually like, okay, sitting down and being like, okay, let me learn like color theory, like lighting, like forms and stuff like that until that time. And that was maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah. And it's cool too, because I imagine, I mean, we all have our off days, but like you've come a long way in the last 4 years, I imagine, right? It's kind of cool looking back. I can say the same for myself. Like I can relate,
absolutely. Yeah, just a little time that I've known you, you've definitely like made leaps, which is really, really cool to see. And it's cool because like I don't really feel like I've made leaps, because I feel like I'm like miles behind, in my opinion. I'm like, I have a very hard time comparing myself to other artists that I follow.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's like, a difficult thing to cope with. But other times I'm just like, dude, I just need to practice more. It's really all it is. But yeah.
There's a way to have it fuel you. In most cases, because if you're in a bad mood, I'm speaking for myself when I say you. When I'm in a bad mood and I'm not feeling good on my art, that's when it's more of comparison. But when I'm in a good mood, it's more like inspiration. But it's really the same part of my brain that's dissecting the other person's work. It's just how I interpret it.
Right. I know exactly what you mean.
In terms of like growing up then, so it was like video game art and stuff that had to do with fantasy was pretty inspiring to you.
Yeah, I was huge on like World of Warcraft. I think World of Warcraft is actually probably why I don't play video games as much anymore, because like
you get trapped in it.
Dude, I went into this like 7-year binge of World of Warcraft, and I was there from like vanilla WoW all the way up until that one Cataclysm, the one with the werewolves and stuff.
I never played because I knew it would have a stronghold over me, dude. RuneScape ruined one of my summers. Remember RuneScape?
Yeah, I remember RuneScape. See, I was always like too cool for RuneScape, because I always had World of Warcraft, and I was always like, why would I play RuneScape? That's just a lamer version of what I'm already playing now. So I never really got into it, but I saw all my other friends playing it, and I was like, y'all are lame. I'm going to go play WoW. And dude, it had a grip on me. I remember like there were times I'd literally wake up at like 3 a.m. on a school night because there was a new expansion that I had to download on my computer, and I had to be the first one to play it. But like, it kind of ruined my life because I really wanted to be like this good like World of Warcraft player, but it was this unending cycle of like, oh, I need to join these raids and get good gear, but everybody keeps kicking me out of the raids because I don't like do enough damage, and I suck as a character. But then I couldn't get enough gear because I kept getting kicked out of the raids. Dude, it was just being bullied nonstop for like years. Oh my god, it was a nightmare.
Yeah. Here's my RuneScape story. So I'm like, to be honest, I'm not a very good gamer, and I never have been. I've always been like middle of the pack, even when I was like growing up,
Yeah.
And I mean middle of the pack amongst non-gamer types. So I was just never good, especially shooter games. Terrible. I was pretty good at Halo though, but that's not.
Oh yeah.
So with RuneScape, man, I played a couple of times, and I literally never got off Tutorial Island. And what would happen was, I'm like 32, so like a lot of my childhood, it was the dial-up internet, right?
Yep.
People couldn't like make phone calls or anything. It's not like an old man, dude, but I mean, like, it was so slow and terrible. But what happened was everyone went to this public library right near my house, and that's where all the kids were playing RuneScape, man. It's just funny. But there was one time when on like that, right after Tutorial Island, you get on the main land or whatever. And because of some of RuneScape's limitations, people would do drop saves. So they would drop all this money, open up a new file, and then grab the money so that they would start with more money. They would, you know what I mean with that concept?
Yeah.
So somebody did a botched drop save, and I picked up like 9,000 coins. So I'm just like an idiot who all of a sudden lucked out with like the lottery. So then I started playing because I had such a strong start.
Yeah.
And then I lost everything in the wild.
Oh yeah.
So like it's the most punishing game ever.
See, I can't relate because I was too busy playing WoW. Too busy grinding on WoW, man. I have no idea about any of that stuff, but I mean they're pretty similar games, so
yeah,
I feel your pain.
Yeah, I played for like straight 3 weeks, and then I went on like a family vacation, came back, and then I realized what a waste of time it was, and I never played again. And that was just, and I, all my like childhood and early adulthood, it was all playing drums all the time.
Really?
Drums? It was in terms of my interest, it was drumming, and then visual art.
Okay.
But then since like 2016, it's been art, and then I haven't really been playing music at all. I just been putting all my chips into that.
That's exactly what I've been doing as well. I haven't really touched a guitar since I've been doing art seriously. So
yeah. In terms of like these last 4 years or so, do you recall like some pivotal moments or lessons where like your art started to kind of gel and take, you know, a better shape?
Yeah, I think so. A big, like, I had like a big like setback moment. It's kind of the opposite, where I've mainly done like traditional, just watercolors, oil painting, graphite, stuff like that, even like pen and ink work, basically up until 4 years ago. And then I went to Full Sail University for 3D animation, because originally I didn't really, being like an artist in like the metal scene wasn't really like a thought till I started working with Enterprise Earth. That was like, once I started doing like artwork for the metal scene, then everything kind of changed. But before that, I really just wanted to make artwork for like sci-fi movies and come up with cool like concept artwork for like characters and spaceships and monsters, horror movies, sci-fi movies. Movies are definitely a huge passion of mine. I mean, obviously music's a huge passion of mine too. So when I changed over to like the digital side, I had like this huge setback moment where I basically had to like relearn how to do artwork because I had no idea how to do digital artwork. And then it took about like a year of doing digital artwork for me to finally be like, I think I've got the hang of this. So yeah, it's kind of the opposite, if that makes sense.
But like it ended up being like where you could level up faster in the future by having that like minor setback of a learning curve. Is that kind of how you feel?
Yeah, definitely. Once I like kind of like understood like the techniques and the different things that I could do and just, you know, fumbling my way through Photoshop, I guess, buying a shit ton of like artist brush packs online, wasting my money on those. Yeah, there's like one picture. I think it's on one of these slides. I'll definitely point it out. But there's one picture where I was like, okay, I actually can do this.
Yeah, you start feeling good about your work.
Yeah.
It's always interesting when that moment happens because then from there it's, you know, when you start feeling comfortable in your own work and you can get, you know, gigs and jobs and stuff, it
definitely
makes a big difference. Like so much of it's just a head game, confidence, you know?
It is. That's definitely the biggest struggle is just like getting past that thought of like, well, I'm not good enough for that. And just kind of start saying to yourself, well, people are paying you for it. So you clearly are.
Right. And it doesn't mean that you can't get, you know, better. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm always like with the mindset that I'm like miles behind. So, and I think I always feel that way. I think every artist probably feels that way.
Yeah. I have yet to meet one that doesn't have that capacity.
Yeah.
So talking about Enterprise Earth, then, like, how did that all kind of come together? And was that your first break? It sounds like.
Yeah. They weren't the first band I worked with, but they were definitely like my break into the scene. It was kind of weird how it happened. Their current lead singer, Travis, he just randomly hit me up one day on Instagram and was like, dude, your artwork is like really sick. Maybe you could do a shirt design for us sometime. And Enterprise Earth, they've always been one of like my top deathcore bands that I listen to. I'm huge on the deathcore scene. They've always been one of my favorites. So I was like, dude, hell yeah, I'm absolutely down for that. And then he like didn't message me back again for a while. So I was like, all right, well, I got to take matters into my own hands. So I did this picture that was like super inspired by their newest song that they had just come out with him on it. And I knew he would see it and be stoked about it. So as soon as I did that and posted it, he saw it and he messaged me back again and was like, yo, dude, we need a shirt design like this, but like in this style, something similar to this. This is so sick. And I was like, absolutely, dude, I've been waiting. So that was kind of like my first moment.
That's nice though, man. You seized it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've done that a few times too. Just kind of like posting something or drawing something that I know will pique someone's interest, and then going from there. It's worked a few times too.
Yeah, and then even if it doesn't work, you have more art to your name, just personal stuff. So
oh yeah,
kind of a win-win.
Because at the end of the day, like that's just shit that I love drawing anyways. I mean, so it's hard to be like, it's almost hard to manage the business side of things, because everything I do for all the work that I've done for these bands is stuff that I would have done on my own. So it's hard to like, I don't know, be like a business person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I imagine the more experience you get, more bands you work with, that kind of stuff's naturally just going to come more to the surface. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
What about like kind of your musical journey then? Like, how did you first discover like metal and heavier music?
Oh man. I think everybody just kind of had a similar experience back in like,
it depends on their age. This is a multi-generational show.
Yeah, true. I guess me and you probably relate then. Just back being like a teenager in middle school and early high school, and just seeing like band t-shirts that looked just gnarly as hell and school, and you're just like, dude, what is going on that shirt? Like, I can't even read that. What is that?
Yeah.
And people would be like, oh, dude, you got to check out this band. And I'd be like, all right. And I'd go home and like look up some bands and stuff. But the gateway band for me, I was in middle school, and it was actually Bullet for My Valentine. They were like my gateway band to the metal scene. Mm-hmm. And actually,
Tears Don't Fall song,
dude,
whatever.
Yeah, dude.
My friend had that as like iPod video. You know, I remember, you know, the little screen watching the little video.
Sitting there on the bus together with a little iPod Nano, watching it. What's funny is that like, I didn't always, because that was back with like iTunes and stuff. You had to pay like $1 more for a music video.
It was $2.99 for the
video. Yeah, exactly. So I'd be like, well, screw that. I'm just gonna like record on my iPod Nano. The very first iPod Nano that had the camera on it, I was able to record videos on it. So I would just like pull the video up on YouTube, record it, and then I'd bring it to the bus and show my friends and stuff. And that was my way of doing that.
Bootlegger.
Dude, those were the days, man. Those were the days. It was awesome.
Yeah. That's always fun getting nostalgic about it. I think for me, in that era, early Trivium, Lamb of God, Children of Bodom, and In Flames.
Really?
Like that, yeah. I was really into In Flames and like the mid-period stuff, the stuff that most people don't like. And I get it. I like the early stuff more now, but at the time, you know, with the catchy choruses, it gets you in the door.
It's so funny you bring them up. I'm actually seeing them this Sunday. They're playing like right down the street from me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're in Atlanta like tonight or something. Like right.
Oh, damn.
They're probably just going up the coast.
Probably. And
so who's on the bill then? It's In Flames and who?
Gate Creeper and Creeping Death. Which I'm more excited for those two than In Flames, because In Flames is good, but I've definitely gotten way more into death metal over the past year.
For sure, yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
What are there any releases that have come out this year that you've really enjoyed? Yeah,
obviously the new Enterprise Earth album. I jam that like every day on my way to work and at home and stuff. Huge fan of that album. The new Wrist Meet Razor album, I've been jamming that a shit ton.
Okay,
it just came out maybe a month ago. That album's like really, really fucking good. Very like
Genres. Is that like mathcore, like screamo? What is that?
oh, I would definitely put it in like the screamo hardcore, like
Okay.
early 2000s style of like emo hardcore, like 18 Visions, um, stuff like that.
Okay.
I'd put it in that realm of things.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, not really my thing, but it's cool. I watched the interview today with Connie from See You Space Cowboy, and I mean, I don't really like their music, but I thought the interview was really interesting. Seems like a cool person.
Yeah, that's actually that's another one of the bands that I really like. That still that has that very similar style, that like early 2000s emo hardcore. Definitely a huge fan of them. They're really really cool.
That's cool.
What else? What else? Wrist Meat Razor, Enterprise Earth. I've been real big on the new music that the Story So Far has been putting out this year has been like really really good. I've been jamming them a lot lately too. Definitely a huge fan of like the pop punk scene. Certain parts of it, certain like parts of it. Like I love the Story So Far, but like I hate Pierce the Veil. I can't stand like Sum 41 shit like that. I think it's just lame. But like Story So Far is definitely them. I think Neck Deep is really good.
I thought it was cool that Neck Deep brought Drain out for their last tour. Drain is like a hardcore crossover band. They're awesome. You should check them out.
I've never heard of them. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, they're great. But yeah, pop punk and emo, not my thing. But hey, more power to you, dude.
I will say, like, I think this whole new resurgence of like emo and all these emo karaoke nights, it's beyond cringe. Like anybody who's like this self-proclaimed elder emo dude, I'm just like, oh dude, that's cringe. So fucking cringe. And like you go to these emo karaoke nights too, and it's like, dude, you're not even singing emo, you're singing Mr. Brightside, which I love that song, but like, dude, that's not an emo song. Come on.
Yeah, touche. That's fair. But yeah,
Not trying to. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I understand what you're saying. You're just like throwing light shade. You're just joking around.
Yeah, I'm not like that serious about it, but you know, I just think it's cringe, but it's funny. Teach their own.
Well, it's like, so my wife and like all of her friends, they're, it makes sense because like at that time, at least at like my high school, it was like, some guys liked emo music, but a lot of the guys were into like Slipknot, and then a lot of the chicks were into like Panic at the Disco. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was some crossover, but like I went to an emo night because my wife dragged me to it.
Oh boy.
With like some friends, but dude, it was like a giant like dance party. It was actually pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie.
Was it fun?
It was. Maybe your karaoke is lame, but like, and I don't even like the music. It was just like, felt like a club, and like, I don't know, it was kind of fun, honestly.
Yeah. Maybe I'm missing out. Maybe I'm being a hater. I'll go one of these days, I guess.
Yeah. If you make it to Atlanta for some reason, and there's one of those, maybe you'll change your mind. But
okay.
Either way, it's not metal, and I get that.
I mean,
you got to make your wife happy, right?
That's very true. That's very true. And I'm not like, hating on music because it's not metal. I'm actually like a big part of me is like a huge metalhead, obviously, but an even bigger part of me has a even more appreciation for like synth pop, dark wave, stuff like that. I grew up on like a lot of 80s like synth pop and stuff. Yeah. So I'll always have like a huge love for like electronic music. A lot of stuff like that, like the soundtrack to the latest Terrifier movie, Terrifier 2. I listen to that like almost every day. Just, instrumental. Some of it's instrumental, but a lot of synth pop electronic music.
Yeah. Do you like horror movies a lot?
Oh, yes.
What are some of your favorites then?
Oh man, this is such a tough question. Definitely any of the Evil Dead movies. I think the Evil Dead franchise, every movie they've come out with, it just is perfect from front to back.
Yeah.
Including the older ones. But I do like the newer ones better. I grew up watching the older ones, but I think the newer ones are miles above what the older ones did.
That's a hot take, man.
It is a very hot take, but dude, I like the newer ones are just insane. They're so fun. Like they're just so fun.
I mean, I watched the latest one where they're like in an apartment.
Yeah,
the
Evil Dead
record or
Rise.
whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
dude, it some of the like gore / like special effects is really freaky, man. Like it made me, you know, kind of my gut reaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like that movie, it did a really good job at keeping like a really dark and scary atmosphere while having a lot of like really humorous parts that didn't take from that. Like the cheese grater scene I thought was hilarious, but that was still a terrifying moment. Or like all of the mom's dialogue was just so funny, but so terrifying at the same time.
Yeah, I can see what you
mean.
What's your opinion on like A24 horror movies? Like them, don't like them? What do you think?
Oh, I think they're great. But I think it's like caused like this surgence of like people who think they're superior for enjoying them over something like Dead Rise. They're like, oh, you think that's a good movie? Have you seen like the director's cut that's 5 hours long of this A24 horror movie that premiered at this festival that nobody's seen yet? No? Well, then you're a poser. That's literally like the vibes that I get from these people. But I like those movies too.
It's funny. I see that, but I also see the opposite too, of people who are like so stuck in the 80s and the 90s that no movie that's come out has been good. So it's like it's all, Jason, Freddy, and all that stuff. I like horror movies, but it's definitely not like a big part of my like I don't like collect any horror stuff or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely collected a lot of like those like older like Todd McFarlane toys, those horror action figures. I had a lot of those in high school and stuff. I had a lot of those. I also have like some Final Fantasy like figurines and stuff like that. I'm definitely into like the figurines.
I like Final Fantasy stuff a lot. Well, I played 10, so I like that game a lot. I can speak on that,
Yeah, 10's good. 7's good. I'm a huge fan of Crisis Core, that one. But going back to the horror stuff, I forgot what I was going to say. But no, you're definitely right. Like older generations just like not even giving anything new a chance, and they think like like Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street is just the best horror movie ever, which they're pretty good, but like the horror genre's grown a lot since then too.
Well, I like the 70s and kind of late 60s stuff more than 80s personally. Like I like, hot take here. I like The Exorcist a lot, right? But no, Rosemary's Baby, Wicker Man, like those kind of like early 70s ones where it's like more about the occult and like the psychological horror. Like those ones are really intriguing to me.
Dude, I actually have another hot take right after your hot take. I think
mine's a fake hot take. Everyone likes The Exorcist. Unless you're about to say you don't.
Oh no, I love The Exorcist.
Okay.
But I think because you brought up the Wicker Man, I think Nicolas Cage's Wicker Man is so good. I love that movie. I think it is terrifying, and he did so good. I don't care what anybody says. That movie was terrifying.
So what makes it good then? That's you have to defend that take. You can't just say that.
Maybe.
What about the bees scene?
Oh, I knew you were going to mention the bees. Everybody always talks about the bees. That's like 1 second out of the movie. Like that doesn't ruin the whole movie for me. But it was definitely, to be honest, I actually haven't seen it since being a kid. So maybe I have like this weird thing, like I liked it as a kid. And then, you like something as a kid and you go rewatch it as an adult and you're like, dude, that's ass.
I'll tell you what. This video isn't going to premiere for a couple weeks. If you watch it and you decide that it's not good, I will put an editor's note right here.
All right.
That's like you revoke your opinion on The Wicker Man.
All right. I'll watch it this weekend and I'll get back to you on that.
Sounds good. Well, for the folks watching, maybe we should get back to art a little bit.
Okay.
In terms of like working with clients and stuff, What's kind of the right balance for you in terms of direction? So they give you initial idea, you run with it, they give you more specifics. Like, what's kind of the ideal client experience?
The ideal client is somebody who's like, hey, I've got this song. You want to listen to it and come up with something cool? And I'm like, yeah. And I draw something that I thought was cool and I show it to them and they're like, that's perfect. That's the ideal client. Which
yeah, I feel you.
It's happened maybe like 3 times. Enterprise Earth is definitely that client. Literally anything I do, they're like, dude, that's so sick. Let's throw that on a shirt. I love working with them. And in fact, like, I reach out to them more than they reach out to me about designs. I'm always like, what do you guys think of something like this? What if I did something like this? And I'll show them like a rough sketch of it. And they're like, yeah, dude, that's sick. Let's go with that. I definitely love that relationship that I have with them. But I also, that's like, on the rare occasion where clients are that easy.
Right.
Most clients I work with, they're always like, well, that looks pretty cool and stuff, but that's not really like screaming the vision that I had for this song. And we'll go through a couple of revisions and stuff until we get it right. But most times we get it right.
Yeah. And I get that too. There's a way to like respectfully offer a counter idea. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I get that.
I've definitely. Oh, go ahead. Oh,
I didn't know what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I've definitely had to tell some clients, like, look, dude, your idea isn't that cool and it won't look that cool. And I have to break it down for them, like compositionally, why it won't look good. I've definitely had to do that a few times.
You do it over text or you do it on the phone?
I've done it over the phone once, but most times it's over the text. I don't always like talk on the phone with clients. Most of the clients I actually work with are not in this country. It's either like Canada or Lithuania is like the bands that I work with, weirdly.
Interesting.
But everybody takes it pretty cool because almost everybody I've worked with, I don't think there's anybody I've worked with, any bands at least I've worked with that have just completely tried to like take over, like, and be like, no, like, this is how we want it. This is how you're going to do it. I don't think I've ever really experienced that.
Yeah. So the worst case scenario, luckily you haven't hit that yet.
I've hit it once, but not with a band. It was with somebody who just like wanted like a profile picture of their like OC or original character for like VTubing or I don't really know. And they were like, they sent me all these references and they're like, I want it like at this angle, her doing this. I want like her peeling a mask from her face, like at this specific angle. I want her to like this going on. I want like this like black goo dripping down her face. I was like, okay, like I can definitely incorporate all of that into an image, but like the composition you want is not going to work with all that. So I have to change that a little bit. And they were like, well, can you do a rough sketch? And I was like, yeah. And I did a rough sketch and it wasn't like quite what their or what they wanted. Like,
yeah, they sound
because I had to change the composition. And they were like, this is why I wanted like at least a rough sketch, which I thought I did a rough sketch, but I was nowhere near done. And they were like, I wanted a rough sketch because this is all wrong. She's like too skinny. She like doesn't have the cool armor. And I was just like, look, I don't have time for this. You take your deposit back.
Oh my God. That's the type of client that maybe you should do AI prompts because it's like you literally are like so specific on what you want.
Yeah.
You're gonna be a nightmare to work with anyone. And not that I'm advocating it for it, but you guys gotta know what I mean. No artist wants to work with that type of client.
No, because like, dude, I'm an artist. Like I'm not a machine. Like I'm gonna put my own take on it. So
yeah. It's interpreting the vision.
Yeah.
So did you learn from that experience, like little things to look out for?
Yeah, I actually learned a real hard lesson. That experience was, don't accept more money past the deposit that I have in place. Because then I had to refund them all their money. And I was like, damn. Yeah. So it was definitely a business lesson for me because I should have just been like, look, you paid the deposit, don't pay me any more money till I'm done with it, because they paid like over half of it. And then when I didn't like it, I was just like, and I knew in my mind that they were going to be too difficult to work with. So I was like, this is not really worth it. So I just gave them all their money back.
Yeah. But what about like just like the personality characteristics? Like if you get an email or a message and there are certain things in there, what are kind of like the yellow or red flags?
Yellow or red flags? I don't know. I would say definitely a red flag is like, anybody that wants me to recreate something that's not within my own style.
Yeah.
I'd say that's definitely like a red flag, because I know they're not, at that point, they're not looking for my style. They haven't really like looked at what I do. They just see me as like, oh, that guy he can draw, so he can probably do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you mean. In terms of style, I guess like no one likes putting themselves in a box, but like how would you roughly define the kind of stuff that you created or that you just draw from that, produces the output that you see?
Can you reword that a little bit? I don't really understand.
Sure. Basically, in a nutshell, like what would you define your style as? Like, where are you drawing from?
Oh man, I feel like I take so much from every little thing, and every day it's like a fine balance of like not ripping off an artist, but taking influence from them. I feel like I'm still very, very new to this entire thing, and I'm still very much finding my own style. Like every project I get pushes me into like a different direction with my style. So it's kind of like hard to like define where I want to go with it, because I just pull from so many different little areas, and every like I said, every project recently has just been something completely different than what I would normally be doing. Like the one that I recently showed you was like an oil painting. Like I don't really ever touch oil paintings since doing digital, and like a band asked me for it, and they're a close enough band with me that I told them, I'm like, yeah, I'd be down for the challenge. So
looks really good, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah,
sitting at my foot right now. Actually, I can't show it off just yet though, because I haven't announced it. But that's one I'm super, super excited about, and that's kind of made me want to lean more towards traditional stuff. But I've got like a whole list of projects I've got to work on, and they just keep coming and coming. So I don't know if it's something I'll continue or not. Hopefully I do.
Yeah. But I mean, regardless of medium, digital or traditional, I feel like there's quite a bit of consistency in the stuff that I see from you.
You think so?
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's like definitely like different challenges, but like, I see kind of dark surrealism would be part of it. I think that there's an element of that. There's cool like graphic elements too. Strong shape design, like that's important.
Thanks.
So like I see, if I just didn't see the the usernames and I saw a piece, I'd be like, yeah, that's Dementula.
Oh, sweet. That means a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just always all over the place with my style, so that means a lot to hear.
Yeah, well, I feel the same way too. I think it's just, you and I both still early in our careers,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And, likewise, I definitely recognize a piece whenever I see one of yours on my feed without even looking at the name. So.
Oh, thank you. Well,
yeah.
Well, you're just buttering me up, huh? What does the start to finish process look like for you? So like sketch to even maybe how you approach the painting, like the layers, and just kind of like talk me through it.
Usually it starts with like it usually just starts with like some gesture stuff. Like usually there's always like characters of some sort in any picture that I'm doing. So I'll do like some gesture. I'll try to focus heavily on like values and movement first in the picture. And once I get like the values and the movement and like the major contrast areas with like lighting and shadow, then I kind of build around that. And then I start like adding color, and start going into all the details and stuff like that. And
You're doing in grayscale to begin with?
yeah, most times it's grayscale. There's only been like a handful of things that I've done that started just full color. And there's a few actually in some of the pictures that you chose, and I'll definitely point them out, but most times it's grayscale.
That's cool. And then just slowly tightening up. At what point do you show the contact of the band members in terms of your sketch? Like what degree?
It's pretty early on because I get really excited still working with like bands and stuff. So I'm like, I gotta go home. I gotta like whip up a quick sketch real quick. And I always emphasize to them, I'm like, look, this looks really ugly, but like, this is my idea. And I want you to know like the direction that I'm going with it, just based off of like this quick thumbnail. Mm-hmm. And then like, I'll give them like a brief description from there. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, dude, that's sick. Hell yeah. So, it goes pretty well, but yeah.
So most of the time they understand like the purpose of a thumbnail and there's no like because judgment. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel maybe I'm like critical of my thumbnails because whenever I like send it to any, client, they're always like, dude, that's a rough sketch. That looks insane. So I'll show them my rough sketch looked terrible.
dude, that's how I feel. I'm like, dude, there's no way you think that's good. That's freaking atrocious. But I mean, we're all our own worst critics. So
yeah.
But honestly, it's not till about like the 85% completion mark where I'm like, all right, this is starting to look good in my mind. It's not till I get to like that last 15% where I can like really hone in on all those details that I want to do.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It depends on the piece for me in that aspect, but especially if I'm painting more than like the pen and ink stuff. Mm-hmm. With painting, there's especially watercolor. But now I know you do watercolor as well. There's a lot of ugly phases in that.
There is, and it's like a lot of doubting phases too, because you're just like, what is this? What am I doing the whole time until,
It does kind of feel like that though. But then you look back, you're like, man, that was kind of fun.
Yeah. After you're like, man, this is sick,
Yeah.
It is weird. And that's actually one thing I struggle with is like learning to enjoy the process. Like a lot of times I'll just be sitting there and I'll just be like, just kind of, grinding away on a piece, just like filling out details and stuff like that. And I have to like stop myself and be like, the goal isn't to get it done as fast as I can and move on to the next piece. The goal is to put myself into this and like really enjoy doing this, every little part of it. That's like a constant reminder that I have to give myself when I'm working on pieces.
Yeah. Kind of slowing down sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of slowing down, just taking a step back. And not focusing too hard on like the references that I'm using for the piece, if that makes sense. If that makes sense.
Totally, because no one sees the references.
Exactly.
Only you do. So you're like judging yourself against kind of an invisible thing.
Yeah. Sorry, that's my cat.
Yeah. Well,
I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh. That's Princess Pumpkin Spice.
Pumpkin Spice. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
There. I got an orange tabby who just like would never let me do that. He's an orange tabby, man. I don't know if you ever met them, but they're oftentimes very kind of crazy.
I've heard them referred to as like crack cats.
Yeah.
She's got crack energy sometimes when she gets the zoomies, but she's a snuggle bug like every day, all day.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I wonder if the next cat I get will be like that, because my cat's like a hunter,
Oh God.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that.
Just look at the notes real quick. So you're talking a little bit about trying to find enjoyment in the process. Is it those final details? Like, is that the part that's the most enjoyable for you?
Oh, absolutely. When I can really, because a lot of the times I've got like a vision of like, okay, I want this to look like this, and it doesn't look like that until I'm doing those details. You know what I mean? So doing those like final details is when I get excited on a piece. That like last like 15% after it's gone through like a couple of rough draft for revisions, stuff like that. But there's also times where I'm like, oh man, this looks sick, up until about like the 85%, and then I look at it and I'm like, dude, this is fucking horrible. Yeah. And then I have to like completely restart.
What do you think that's the best move in some cases, or do you think you're truly being objective at that point, or as objective as you can be?
I am being objective, and most times, if I think something looks horrible, I'm not going to restart it. I'm just going to push through and trust the process.
Yeah.
Like that one piece that I showed you when I was asking for advice, like I thought the piece looked horrible. Like even to that point, I was like, this isn't really working out. But when I took like those compositional changes and advice and stuff from you and applied them to that piece, it really actually came together. So
yeah, I thought it looked great.
So there are times where you don't have to take it back to square one, but just like adjusting some of like the composition a little bit can really, really change a piece and make you like it.
Yeah, definitely. What's like one technical thing, or not technical, but like aspect that you're trying to improve within your art specifically in the next year or so?
I'm really, really trying to improve my form with the use of lines, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm very much like the kind of person of just like throwing some colors together, throwing some paint down, and kind of like moving it around to create everything how I want to, rather than like creating actual forms accurately with like the use of line work. That's something I've never been really good at. But I've been focusing on it really heavily lately with some of my recent pictures that I can't really share yet, but I'll be able to soon. And that's something that I really want to
having that 3-dimensional thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, okay, well, like if I add like these lines there, then that'll create like, the impression of like a shadow or an indentation or like an impression of some sort. And if what I'm saying makes sense, you know what I mean?
Totally makes sense. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
And that's like such an important aspect to getting to that next level, because like I feel like that's something I've been focusing on, and it's been making my work look better too. So I'm like kind of the same thought process, really, because that's like a very hard part of drawing, like, you really have to like close your eyes and think like, how would this actually exist in a cube?
Yep.
If you really distill it down to how things fit in cubes, it changes how you draw.
I always think about like the cube thing is a very, very good description, but I always think like if I were to draw a line around this entire thing, like how would it look? How would that line look in a 3-dimensional space? Where would that line like indent and go up? Where would that line be thick and thin? Where would that line be like close to another part of that line? Does all that make sense?
For the most part, yeah.
I think of it like that.
Are you, I know you can't show all your work right now, but are you doing like a blend of digital painting and there's like a Carnifex piece that we'll show, but it is more like a pen and ink illustration, but just done digitally. Are you doing both, or are you doing mostly the digital painting and then trying to think more about line?
I do the digital painting, but I try to like keep it to like one brush tip with my digital brush, and really just doing mostly line work with that to try to like emulate, doing traditional pen on paper, line work, stuff like that.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll only use digital at this point, and it's all I really feel comfortable with for like doing mock-ups, so that when I'm doing stuff traditionally, I have like a map. So like, for instance, this is like really scribbly, but I'm working on this piece right now. It's just a personal one, but I did this mock-up, so now I have like a value map. So
Yeah,
and then I just printed it out, and then I just have this out, and then it takes a lot of the risk out of making like a stupid pen and ink error. So I do use Procreate for mock-ups.
So you do like all like your pre-work and rough drafts digitally, and then you take that to the traditional side, and kind of like.
No, I do everything by hand. But what I'll do is I took a picture of my piece, put it in Procreate, and then I spent.
I see what you're saying.
spent 10 minutes drawing over it, so I know roughly where I want the lighting and all that stuff, because I can erase, I can do all that. So then this is, if you really look at it, it's very sloppy. Now I have like, I'm sure we can relate, in that detail process, you can kind of lose sight of like the big picture, right? So I'll intentionally make it really, I don't zoom in at all. I'm just like, okay, where are the values? Where's the lighting? So then when I'm actually doing it, I can show you this later. I just have like a value map to follow.
Right.
You know what I mean? But this was like a 10-minute part of what's going on, like a 10-hour process. Probably more. Probably way more.
Okay.
Because I'm not that fast. I'm getting faster, but I'm not that fast.
Yeah, I don't really do a whole lot of like crossover with like traditional to digital with my artwork. It's probably something I should do more of. I know a lot of like artists, like I'm pretty sure like Riddick Art, is that how you say his name?
Oh, Mark, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does a lot of that.
It's all hand.
All of it?
Yeah, all of it.
Oh man.
He knows graphic design programs and stuff, so he used them to his advantage, but he's doing everything by hand.
That's crazy. That's so crazy to me. When I was like primarily doing like pen and ink work and stuff, I wanted to like make prints to like sell, but I would struggle so hard with like keeping like the quality of like what I did traditionally and carry it over to digital. And it was so hard because like his work is like so crisp and clean. I just think like if I did that by hand, like you'd see like just all this nonsense going on. I don't know. That's insane to me.
I mean, he's a good friend of mine. Those are 2 Riddick originals there. So
yeah, I've definitely checked them out on some of your other videos. Super jealous. Excellent artist for sure.
Yeah,
definitely take a.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, I can tell.
But I mean, this scene has no shortage of killer artists, right? It just pushes me and you to get better, right?
Yeah, and I find it as like not necessarily a competition, but just like, because everybody I've like talked to in the scene, I've made so many good friends with all the big artists in the scenes at this point, like Adam Berg. He's super, super cool. Definitely a few others. I can't think of their names right now, but it's
Adam's
really
an amazing painter.
Oh yeah, he's phenomenal. He's probably like my favorite oil painter, like modern oil painter, next to like.
I think he does mostly acrylic, doesn't he?
Is it all acrylic?
Yeah, for speed, man. Because the guy's lightning fast, dude.
Maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about ever. I don't know.
Well, no, man, I'm not trying to make you sound. I'm just like, I'm just referring to he can do both, but in my interview, he mentioned that he uses acrylic mostly just for speed, right?
That makes a lot of sense now that you say that, yeah.
But he's thinking like an oil painter, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. Like, the work that I've seen him do, I think, like, that's something that I would only be able to achieve if I was oil painting. It's kind of like my mindset when I look at his work.
For sure. It is kind of a mystery.
No, he's excellent. Yeah, it's really cool being in the same like realm as artists like him. And what's his name? James Bosma. Is that how you say his name?
Oh, Bosma, yeah.
Bosma, artists like him as well. Just it's really cool being in the same scene as that, and everybody's just like super, super friendly and sincere for the most part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I imagine you've talked with James, but he's a really big advocate on helping other people.
Yeah,
in their journey. It's like he talks about how, I hope I'm telling his story correctly, but when he was very much in his development phase, he got a lot of guidance from a forum that Dave Raposa put together. So he got a lot better from it was almost like a class of people who are just learning some of these tips and learning from each other. And he talks a lot about kind of art mentorship in every conversation I've had, and critique and the value of it, and really helpful, constructive critique.
Yeah. So, definitely.
Yeah, James is a great person.
Oh, he seems like it. We shared a few words online here and there. He seems very, very genuine and sincere. He's also an amazing artist. But it's funny because I am also a huge fan of Dave Raposa. He's also one of my favorites, and I
can see that a little bit too. For sure.
Yep, he's a huge influence of me. And I also follow his what is it called? Discord, his Discord channel, and it's just nothing but other artists, kind of the same thing that you were mentioning. Same exact thing.
That's a good environment to be in, man. It's amazing how much better you get when you surround yourself with really skilled artists that have a lot of experience. Yeah,
absolutely. And because I don't know, there's just this push to feed off of each other and grow. And there's also friendly competition. When you see somebody do a banger of a piece, you're just all right, I got to beat that somehow.
Right. Yeah, dude, that stuff fuels me.
Absolutely.
And ultimately is going to be something very different. But when you are impressed by something, you can't help but try to rise to the challenge,
Yeah, absolutely. It is very challenging seeing all the other artists in the scene. Very challenging. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
For sure. No, man, you got the right mindset, and that's what carries you through. Talking about inspiration, I've started asking this in interviews, and I think it's really interesting. But what's your visual, and let me explain fully, your visual artist Mount Rushmore? So what I mean by that is, we all see a lot of art that we really like, but it doesn't really fall into our inspiration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I see so much art I love, but what ultimately comes out of my hand is probably only guided by 50 artists, really. The stuff that just has that grip hold on you.
Oh yeah.
What are maybe 4 artists that just speak to you on another level?
This is a really good question. I would say, I think number 1 for me is probably going to be Stephen Gamble. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, he's the guy who did the Scary Stories, right?
Yes, that guy has had a huge hold over me my entire life, because I remember when those books hit the shelves. I was in 3rd grade, and I bought them at the book fair too. And I was
classic book fair.
Yeah, dude, it was insane.
So much fun.
So much fun. God, those are the days, man.
I'm gonna go on a rant after if the conversation is there, but keep going.
All right, keep that thought. But yeah, Stephen Gamble, he's definitely a huge influence of mine. Stephen Gamble, definitely, I would put H.R. Geiger on there. I know everybody says it, but he's influential for a reason. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, Geiger's one of my heroes too, man. I mean, I'm looking at this piece now, and it's kind of hard not to admit that it looks a little bit Geiger.
I can see it now that you say that. I mean, from what I can tell a little bit back here, I can definitely see some influence in some of your other work as well, with just the very, I don't know, the soft forms and stuff that you choose to use in a lot of your images. I can definitely see that.
Flowy shapes. I mean, yeah. Biomech stuff. It's just so much fun to draw.
Because there's no rules with it. You can literally just,
so much fun. I love Giger, biomech tattooing. I don't know if I'd personally want biomech on my body, but I would love to just draw that shit all day. It's just
fun. It's insane. It's so cool.
You keep going. I want to interrupt you.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. It's funny though, because I don't ever really do a whole lot of biomech stuff. I got to get into that, I guess, into that side of things. But
I can see the influence of Giger, on your stuff. It's kind of hard not to be, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely big on like the late 1800s, like Baroque style stuff. I'm huge into those paintings. Like, what was that one painting, like The Fall of the Damned, where it's like the huge painting of like all those people. I think Parkway Drive used it as an album cover at one point. Like, stuff like that just blows me away, because I'm like, that must have taken so long to do, and every single person is just so perfectly placed that it doesn't look like just like a pile of poop, basically. Like, to achieve that, it just amazes me. So I don't know. It's hard to choose an artist from that like time frame. Maybe like, what's his name? God, I don't even know how to say it. Like Chiaroscuro, is that how you say it? He's real big on like those really deep shadows and stuff.
Like Rembrandt.
Like what?
Rembrandt.
Oh yeah, that's another one of them too. I can't think of the works that he's done.
I don't know the names either, but he has a lot of that like strong shadow style.
Yeah, that real like strong, like heavy shadow, like Caravaggio style, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I really like that. What do I have? One more, I guess. Probably, I don't know if you know who this is, but this guy has a huge influence on me. His name's Artem Demura on ArtStation and Instagram. He's like a foreign artist, digital artist, does a lot of like concept artwork for video games like Mortal Shell, a lot of like Dark Souls style art, stuff like that, where he really incorporates like these really big scenes, atmospheric scenes that are really like desolate and like real hellish feeling, with like just so much going on in them. But he keeps it like, I don't know. He's really, really excellent at what he does.
Yeah, send him. Send me the like link after this. I'd be curious to see.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll definitely see his influence on me. As soon as I send it, you're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I see it."
Well, I think it's cool too that you like draw from concept art and video game art and all that stuff too, because like I definitely am. And it's funny, I don't play video games, but people who are on like Proco and like other channels, a lot of them are working artists in that field. So like I naturally see a lot of that stuff. And I think it's really cool. Like some that I think that a lot of people love it, but the latest Puss in Boots movie has some really good character design and animation. It's like unreal how good it is. The wolf, like the way he moves and everything is so gesture like some of the best artists, man, they work in, I mean, it's even like if you look at like Disney or Warner Brothers cartoons and all that stuff, like if you really pay attention to the power of like the gesture and the line behind all those characters, it's like that kind of stuff can feed into metal art to me in a very clear way, but it doesn't have anything to do with the subject matter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I remember that Puss in Boots movie like blowing up on like Twitter and stuff, just nonstop. I gotta watch it. I'm behind. That's
one of my favorite like animated kind of kids movies or whatever, and like good story too.
Yeah,
very impressed. And then everyone talks about the latest Spider-Verse kind of movies, but those
those are good too. I saw the first
good example.
One. Yeah, that one definitely like changed the game for like animation style and what people like could and couldn't do in like an animated movie. That like really, really broke like a lot of those boundaries. It's really cool to see for sure.
Puss in Boots definitely took from that, like this style and everything. So
that's so funny because like I actually got commissioned. Just a guy randomly hit me up on Twitter and was like, "Can you do like a watercolor in your style of the wolf from Puss in Boots?" So I had to like look up all these pictures, and I did it, but I had no idea what I was doing. So now I'm like, well, now I gotta watch it.
Oh, that wolf character is so cool. I love that character, man.
Yeah, I gotta check it out.
It's like
now.
he's like a reaper. It's really cool.
Yeah,
We're showing all of our soft sides today. Pop punk, Puss in Boots, real metal shit. But
dude, I had a Bug's Life on the other day. I was like, we're sitting on the couch. I was like, dude, put on a Bug's Life. That movie's so good. We were just sitting there watching that. I'm definitely a huge softie on the inside for sure. But I mean, I don't care. Can't be hard all the time.
Oh yeah. I love watching there's like a lot of good YouTube essayists and stuff, but they like the making of Bug's Life, or there's this one that was really good is about the making of the first Crash Bandicoot game. Like those kind of like stories behind the scenes of like cutting edge technology, or like there's one called Jurassic Punk. It's about the guy he was like the first person to get like 3D modeling in movies done really well in like a new way for Jurassic Park, and then he kind of like dismissed everything, and his life kind of went on a different course. That was really interesting.
I think I may have I've seen a documentary on the animation that went into the first Jurassic Park movie, because it was originally supposed to be like that like stop motion type of movie, and then I guess they thought they're like, it's still not good enough, it still looks too fake, and that's when they brought in like the 3D stuff, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and then the movie that tried to use it before was The Abyss, and I think these guys might have worked on The Abyss as well with James Cameron.
Okay.
And Terminator 2, like all three of those movies, like they were very cutting edge in terms of like using graphics.
Yeah, I didn't know The Abyss was one of those movies. I saw it as a kid once, and I really liked it. It was pretty good.
One more, and then let's show some art. But
yeah, absolutely.
What are some things you love about the metal scene, and then some things that you dislike about it?
Oh man, I've been waiting for this question because I could talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, I sent you the list, so if there's anything else you want to talk on, it's all fair game.
Yeah, dude. Oh, I could go on about this shit, but start with the things I love. I love how diverse it is. You can go to like almost any part of the world these days, and there's going to be a metal band in their own cultural style, which I think is badass. I think the metal genre really is like the genre that, I don't know, it touches the entire world, and I feel like the metal fan base is way different than any other genre of music. The people that I've like talked to in the metal community, they're just so much more like real than anybody else. Like you go to a rave or like a pop show, which is fun. I mean, I like that kind of music too, but the type of people there are wildly different than at a metal show. And a metal show, like I feel safe at a metal show. Like people are like beating each other down, kicking each other's teeth out, but I feel way safer there than I would at like a rave. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So I think like the metal genre as a whole, I just think is like just the most like heartfelt community out there, just the most diverse. We all just, share a huge passion for metal music. And I think that's really cool. But things that I dislike about the metal genre community, I think, and this might conflict with what I just said, but it's also true. I think there's just especially the online metal community is just, they're all like these online warriors. Everybody's just got to have their own take. Everybody's got to, just have like this weird, shallow, like, high horse that, they got to be on. I don't want to like,
I think what you're saying is fair.
Yeah. I just like, dude, like, I don't really care about like your opinion on all these things. Like you don't got to be like this warrior standing up for like every single issue going on in the world that like I have no control over, no matter, what I think about it. It's just, everybody just needs to like take a reality check. I think like get off Twitter, like touch grass, like this shit's not that serious. These problems that people are bitching about nonstop. It's just, people are just so up in arms about shit that it's just so not serious. It's just like, people make up problems because they're bored, and I'm just like, dude, y'all need to chill out. You're villainizing people over the dumbest things that I've ever heard of. It just blows my mind. I think that's the biggest problem in the metal community.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think especially people just taking like genre classifications too seriously, just stupid stuff like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's some metal elitists out there that, like, I literally had a conversation with somebody who was like, I was talking about Slipknot, and they were like, "That's not real metal, you know that, right?" And I was like, "All right, what's real metal?" And they're like, "Iron Maiden," and I was like, "I get that that's real metal, but to sit here and say that Slipknot isn't a metal band, like, dude, you're high. Get out of here."
Yeah.
Also,
you can not like them, but they're still a metal band.
And dude, I like Iron Maiden, but like, dude, come on, like, Slipknot is, in my opinion, just, dude, the riffs are way harder. If the riffs are harder, it's more metal. Like, that's just kind of how it is, in my opinion.
It's like apples and oranges, right?
Yeah, it is. They're kind of incomparable, but still.
Yeah. I agree with you there. You bring up a good point though too. It's like when you're actually at the show, most people are really friendly and down to earth. It's this online community, people that don't even go to shows that usually are the ones that are the most troublesome.
Yeah, it's ruined bands for me. Like, I love bands like Sleep Token and Spirit Box, and even, you know, bands like Sea Space Cowboy. But like, people just like are so loud on the internet about certain shit that it's just like, dude, y'all have ruined those bands for me. Like, I can't listen to those bands anymore because the nonstop shit I hear online. And I get that, you know, it's my fault for spending so much time online, but it's the world we live in.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, all right, actually one more. What when you look at like art, and maybe it's done by somebody who's not professional artist, what are some qualities that you might see that would be holding it back from being great? So like things that are often like traps maybe for like beginner or intermediate artists.
I think one thing that holds people back is maybe, I think a big thing is like the primary shapes in a picture, and the way that can really control the composition of a picture is just like your primary shapes and where they're going and how the secondary shapes in a picture could be complementing them or hurting them. And I guess to like put it in like better terms, just people will just draw something and there's just shit everywhere and the details might be nice, but like it's unreadable because there's just shit everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think some well-placed shadows with hints of details here and there, with some strong like shapes and like silhouettes and contrast here and there, can go a lot further than just a picture muddled with detail all over the place. You know what I mean?
100%. I agree completely. A lot of times it's what you don't see that makes art great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Like going back into like the chiaroscuro or, you know, Caravaggio styles, like there's so much implication in those pictures of what's going on that aren't even drawn into the picture. You know what I mean? There could just be like a couple hints of details and some good lighting, and the rest of everything is in the shadows that you don't see, but you know what's going on because of the shapes that are happening. And you know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Cool. Well, let's pull up some of your art, and as we're going, you know, you can rip it apart if you want, but
I will.
Give me a chance to talk about what I like about them, though, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like the story behind making it, working with the band, all that stuff's really interesting. All right, 1 second. All right. Tell me a little bit about this.
So this piece, looking back, I think there's definitely a lot that I would have done differently, but I'm still so happy with how this piece came out. Very, very proud of it. it's kind of like my baby. I put a lot of myself into this piece.
This is the Enterprise Earth album cover, right?
Yes, this is the Enterprise Earth album cover. It started when Travis, their lead singer, he was actually doing photography for another band that was on tour, and he stopped at this little bar. They stopped at this little bar down the street from where I live, and I hit him up and I was like, hey, because at this point I'd already been doing art for them, so I hit him up and I was like, hey, dude, I'll be there if you're gonna be there too. He was like, hell yeah, dude, let's hang out. So we end up like talking at the bar, and he starts bringing up like Enterprise Earth new album, me doing the album art. That was the first that, they had mentioned me doing the album cover. So I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'm ready for that in my mind, but I was like, yeah, absolutely, I'm down for that.
That's the right answer.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm never going to tell somebody like no to a big challenge like that. Hell no. So I was like, hell yeah, dude. So we started talking about like album cover ideas, and he starts talking to me about like, just different themes and general directions for the album and stuff that they're going to go. And then they end up like writing all like the demos and stuff for the album shortly after that. And he calls me up and he's like, hey, dude, here's all the demos for all the new songs. Give them a listen and let us know what you think, and let us know, some good ideas. Start coming up with ideas. And I was like, oh my God, dude, I was like so stoked, because I was like, I can't believe this is happening. So this was actually the first idea I came up with too, and they instantly loved it. And basically the whole concept was this, like, because they told me the whole like death theme, they told me all the meaning of the album and everything. So I came up with this idea of like this ancient tomb. It will really, there's like, it's kind of like a short story broken up into 3 pictures. And this was like the first one, which I call The Ritual.
Okay.
And basically it's just like this tomb, and there's like this statue lady. And originally there was going to be like other statues around it, but it wasn't quite working out compositionally. Yep. Okay. So there's the one on the left. That's the first one that I did.
Okay.
That was the very first sketch that I did.
And you almost inverted the colors on the one on the right. You got the lighting and the green down and the black behind. It's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the time I was more confident in doing something where I could have a black background rather than like a more scenic background, which is why I changed that. But I think it looks better compositionally. And I'm pretty happy with that decision. But yeah, there's going to be like more statues around it and stuff. But then it just started to like, kind of like what I was saying earlier, just look like real like muddled with detail all over the place. Not really like, I wanted like the tomb to be more emphasized, which is why I put like the candles there and stuff. And then, but they still like the idea of like the stone statue and stuff around it. So me and Gabe, the guitarist, we came up with different ideas. And one idea I came up with, like at the bottom, you'll see like these little totem poles. One idea I came up with was like totem poles like that all over the place, like all around the tomb. But then he came up with this idea of like the rocks. And so I did that instead, which I personally like the little totems a little bit better. But like at that point, it wasn't really up to me because I gave them the option. So we went with the stones, which I still think look really, really cool, with like the floating little sigils above it. Mm-hmm. It's like a summoning like ritual scene is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, just I wanted it to be not super demonic, but still keep a really sinister feel. Yeah, I think it came out really, really well.
Yeah, man, I like a lot of the shadows and the they're like complex shadows too. Like you know what's underneath. You didn't just do a black, airbrush over it. So like in the front there, I like that there's like that shadow with a little bit of rim lighting on that red in the center, like just little details like that, and like kind of blood coming from it. Like the lighting's really neat. Just it leaves room for the imagination too, which is great.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm glad you said that. That little like front area where like
Yeah.
that face on the tomb is going down into the shadows with like the blood. That is like by far my favorite part, and that was the part I had most fun doing on the piece.
For sure. No, that's sick, man. And probably the album cover you've done that's had the most eyes on it as well to this point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I see it in like record stores all the time. It's a cool feeling, you know.
Yeah.
Going back to what I was saying, like being one of those artists in the scene now and seeing my work amongst, you know, like Adam Burke, James Bousma, and you know the like. It was a really cool feeling seeing my work up there now and being like, yep, it's my turn.
Very cool. So let's talk about these two here. And they're unrelated in terms of the band, I imagine, but just worked color-wise for the slide.
They did work color-wise. And I never really thought of these two comparatively, but now that they're side by side, they look pretty damn similar, but in a good way. The one on the left, that was for the new Amina single, which just came out yesterday, which I'm glad it did because I've been dying to share this piece for like probably over half a year now. I did this piece forever ago when Amina first hit me up. Before they announced that they were even doing anything, their guitarist, Jacob Hartman, messaged me on Reddit of all places.
Reddit?
Yeah, I was like,
okay.
I was like, it was kind of weird, but oh well. It was super cool. He messaged me and he was like, hey dude, he's like, me, Pablo, and Alex Kohler are getting back together for a band. This is what we're going to call it. This is kind of like the concept behind it. Here's some lyrics. Show us what you got. Like, we want to hire you. And this is one of the pieces that I came up with. And this is actually based off of like lyrics to a song on the first EP that they came out with, but some artwork ended up getting changed. So this piece ended up not being used for that EP, which is why like it took a while to share, but it's finally out now, which I'm super, super stoked about. One thing that I did on this piece that I think I want to start incorporating more into other pieces is I almost made this piece look like a scene in a play where you have like, it's very clear and cut, like the foreground, middle ground, and background with like shadows as if they're all a two-dimensional object, if that makes sense. Like, like the shadows on the trees almost make it look like kind of like a scene in a play where like two-dimensional trees would be in the background and the foreground would be casting the shadow on those trees. I wanted to have that like kind of effect of like the layers without keeping it too like atmospheric by that way, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah, I see it now.
It's definitely something I want to do more, incorporate more into my artwork. I really like how that came out. I took a lot of inspiration from, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the artist God Machine, but he's another, I'd put him in my big four actually, looking back on it.
Everybody has been talking about God Machine.
Dude, he is so good. He is just like, in my opinion, no one does it better than him. He's just so good. Which is why, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, like I've literally like in the last week, God Machine's been brought up to have on the show like 8 times.
Oh, dude, you've got to have God Machine on. That'd be so sick.
All right, sounds good. God Machine inspired. Okay.
Very God Machine inspired. But also like in my own style. I'm not just gonna blatantly, be like, I'm gonna try to make it look exactly like God Machine. I don't see the connection overtly, but that's not a bad thing. Just it's one of those things probably in your head, but when it comes out, it doesn't come across. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Working with Amina has been super, super cool. I've got some more stuff lined up for them right now. Can't really talk about it yet, but that's kind of like a dream working with them for me, because Chelsea Grin, when I was a kid, that was like my favorite deathcore band. So super cool working.
So it's people who were in Chelsea Grin formed Amina? Yes.
It's like kind of like the OG members of Chelsea Grin got back together. So
okay, cool.
And
what about this one on the right? Oh, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
Oh no, I was just gonna say one last thing about this piece on the left. Literally, it was 2 nights ago when Jacob messaged me and was like, "Hey, can you do a quick mock-up of the song title on this piece?" He's like, "We got to submit this tonight, and it's gonna come out Thursday." And I was like laying in bed at 10 at night, and I was just like, "Yeah, absolutely, man. Give me like 5 minutes." And I like got up real quick, and I had to like, you know,
So this is for the lettering. Is that what you said then?
yeah, I just had to like throw some lettering on there real quick and email it off to them. But I was just like, you could have like said this like a few days ago or even a couple weeks ago.
Sounds like my nightmare because that's where my limitations come in, man.
It depends on who I'm working with. For them, I gave them a pass. I didn't mind it. But the piece on the right, this one is actually like, I think a hard turn in stuff that I normally do. This definitely was a very different direction. And I actually don't really feel like I achieved what they were going for when they asked me to do this piece. And they love it either way. And it's actually turned out to be one of my most popular pieces. But this was for a flannel, the back of a flannel for Enterprise Earth. And they wanted something, they were like, the original idea was something like a geometric style design that incorporated the sigils that I did for the album cover, which was like the 2 or the 4 little circles going around the swans. So those are also the sigils like on the album cover.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And they wanted like something like geometric, which is kind of like why, like, I don't know if you looked at all like the file titles that I sent you. This one was named Geometric Death, but it looks nothing like a geometric death. There's some geometric stuff going on, but I think I kind of took it a different direction than that. Not really on purpose. Just doing a lot of like geometric stuff necessarily isn't my style. So it was a huge challenge to like kind of achieve what they wanted, but I think I got it, and they're super, super satisfied with it.
I mean, it's really strong. It's, if you look left to right, I mean, it's definitely more of the pen and ink tight line versus the one on the left's more painterly. So
yeah,
it's cool to see like the 2 different types.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really like the concept of like, I came up with this idea of like the black swan and the white swan, kind of like a yin and yang to like life and death. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the idea behind that piece.
I like how you drew those skulls as well. Really well done. The ones on the right and the left there.
Thank you.
Like the way that they kind of work with the eye is just really pleasing. It makes a nice triangle. Like they're just good design choices.
Thank you. That means a lot to hear from you.
Yeah. Really strong piece, man.
Thank you.
It reminds me a hair of Karmazid stuff.
Who?
Karmazid. He does a lot of stuff in the metal scene as well.
Yeah, I know that name. I've probably seen his artwork.
I mean, it's your own thing. I'm just saying, like, to my brain, it's like I see some semblance in a good way.
Okay. I'll have to check that out later. Awesome.
All right. So then these 3.
All right, these 3. These are actually a few of my personal favorites. The one on the left was for this band called Rocket Miner, and I was doing like this. That's the style that kind of like blew me up as an artist too. That like,
really,
that dark red on like the dull black with like the more kind of like occult themed artwork. Mm-hmm. When I started doing that, a lot of people really, really took interest in me. But they said, do something cool for us. And I said, all right. And I did that. And it's still, I think, one of my favorite pieces. I think it's very sound, like the shape of it, the wings, the moon on top.
Less is more.
Yeah, absolutely. Very simple, but very, very dark. Definitely one of my favorites, even like years after the fact.
What year did you make that?
I think 2 years ago. 2 years ago. No, I don't know why I said years. That was only actually a year ago. Feels like fucking years ago.
Yeah.
I've just like grown so much as an artist since this piece. I guess it just feels like years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably like a year and a half ago, maybe. Yeah, they're a really cool band. We're like experimental doom metal band. I think from like the upper left corner of the States. I want to say really, really cool. I've done a couple pieces for them now. They're a really cool band.
Nice. What was the band name again? Rocket Miner?
Rocket Miner, yeah.
Okay, cool. About this one in the middle?
One in the middle. That was like a piece done out of like pure stress. This piece was like not an enjoyable piece to do. And this is one of my favorite pieces I've ever done. And it really came together like an absolute banger of a piece, in my opinion. But I was not having a good time when I started this piece. I was going through some real rough stresses at work, and it was like really affecting my art life. And I had just gotten hit up by Scott from Carnifex. And he was like, hey, dude, he's like, we need a few designs. We really like your work. We want you to do a few designs for the Die Without Hope 10-year anniversary merch drop. So I said, dude, absolutely, I'm down for that. So I just instantly started sketching up some stuff, sending him ideas, different stuff like that. And I sent him a handful of ideas, and he liked them all for the most part. And this was the second design that I did. The first design was really good. That was the one with like the bat guys on it, kind of like the one on the left. It was kind of looked like that.
Okay.
But this was actually like the third iteration of this design. Not iteration, I should say, but the third design that I did for the second idea.
Okay.
It went through like 3 different ideas before we landed on this one. And I was so stressed out because like work was affecting me. And then Scott was like, the first design, I was like, dude, this is ass. Like, I can't give this to you guys. Like, I got to come up with something better. And then the second design, Scott was like, oh, I'm not really feeling this at all, dude. Like, maybe we're just going to be cool with the one design you did for us. And I was like, fuck, I just blew my chance with these guys. And I was like, hold on. Let me draw you something else real quick. And I like rushed home from work that day, and I was just like fucking mad scribbling. And it turned into this piece, which I think is one of my strongest pieces.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's so well composed. I mean, I think it's one of your strongest pieces too. That's why I'm looking at your stuff that's more pen and ink style, and I'm like, make sure you don't lose that muscle as you're painting too, because it's another avenue. And I mean, it depends on what you want to do. Like, if you want to do mostly album art versus t-shirts, it is what it is. But I think this stuff's really strong, man.
Thank you. And like you said, it does depend. I prefer doing album art, but stuff like this, I really like doing, just because I think it's cool seeing, people wear my shirts with my art on it. But this style definitely transfers way easier than like a full color piece to like a merch design.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit easier to do for merch designs. Album covers, I can just kind of have free reign. But yeah, they're selling this design on their tours right now. So if anybody watching goes and sees them, like, snag one up because it's badass. I've got no critiques for this one. I think it's awesome.
That's really cool. Nice story too.
Thanks. Yeah, there's a few pieces that have been done out of just like pure stress or just from not a good place, and this is one of them. The one on the right, unless you had anything else to say about the one in the middle, that's kind of all I had to say.
No, just one of my favorites, and I want to keep seeing stuff like this as well. So, dude. I leave the feedback with the caveat: you do whatever you want and whatever the client wants. I think this stuff's really strong.
Thank you. And I've got a few things coming right now, actually, a handful of things that are on this style, and I'm leaning more towards this style. So I think you're gonna dig what I've got coming out next.
Sick.
So the one on the right, that was for obviously Chelsea Grin. This was also kind of like a dream project because, even if it's not the OG members, it's still Chelsea Grin, and it was still super, super cool to work on a couple designs for them. This one, they wanted a design that was inspired by the lyrics "Fathomless Maw." So I wanted to do something that was real, like hopeless limbo, just a dark, sinister, hopeless limbo scene where you've got these little mindless little guys crawling up these steps, and there's a person floating at the top of the steps who's clearly not good. That was kind of the whole idea. This is actually like the second version. The original version, there was like this like flaming pentagram that she was kind of like it was like all like these like all the lines of the pentagram were on fire, and it was like a circle like right where she is, and she was kind of like half in and half out of it, like a summoning portal. It was like badass looking, but they didn't want anything that was like religious themed or anything that could be construed as like in any sort of religious way. So I had to take that part out and just throw the logo in the back, which I was super let down by. But I mean, it's their it's their shirt that they're selling, so I can't say anything about it.
This is a shirt design?
Yeah, this was a shirt design that I did for them.
Okay, interesting. I thought it was like a poster design or something.
Oh, it should be a poster. They should definitely use this as a.
It just works layout wise that way.
I think so too. It's taken me a long time to figure out. I'm still actually very much learning how to do like a good shirt design. I think a shirt design is harder to do than like an album cover, honestly.
If you want to do shirt design, do the thing you did in the middle. Do that.
You're right. That's what I want.
That's literally all it needs to be. I'm giving you a bunch of unsolicited advice, but if I was doing shirt designs, I probably would do that approach, and then with the album covers, you have a different style, and there's like enough overlap. But.
I absolutely agree. But I just keep having people coming to me for like shirt design ideas that are just like not this at all, and I'm like, damn it. And sometimes I'm just like, man, I could use the money, so I don't say no to it. But I agree with you. I definitely agree.
I haven't seen the version you're talking about prior, so I'm only looking at this here. But like things I was going to say was, I think it's really cool. First of all, the actual pose of being floated is very convincing. Like there's like a slight asymmetry to like how she's being suspended that reads right, like, and that's difficult to do. So like the silhouette's really good.
Thank you.
And then I was thinking the logo, the way it like juts out actually gives it some action and energy to
yeah.
So like I think it looks really cool. And then it's another one where it's like less is more, just strong shadows, cool silhouettes, weird mindless drone people. Like like you're in limbo and you gotta walk up these steps and see this lady that you really don't want to see is kind of the idea. I really, really took inspiration from going back to Evil Dead, the newest Evil Dead movie. That scene when she's like at the very beginning floating up out of the water. That's what. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was like, how do I do that, but without ripping it off too hard? And this is what I came up with.
What made you think of the idea of the camera eye being like going upstairs, like that perspective? Like, do you recall like
I wanted
that inspiration?
Yeah, actually I do. I'm glad you asked. I wanted the camera angle to feel like you were also one of those mindless little limbo guys, like looking up at something you're not supposed to be looking up at. You're like peeking a glance when you're not allowed to. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. Like where I used to live, it was just an apartment complex, but there were like really long series of steps. And like, I feel like if I was doing this piece, I would have taken that as reference, because it's like, I literally have seen that angle with exactly those types of steps.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's just like a looming sense of dread, I guess you can say.
Yeah. Very cool. How about these two?
These two. So these ones, one on the right, before I say anything else, one on the right, that is like, in my opinion, in the top 10 best pieces I've ever done. I like love that piece, but I'll start with the one on the left. The one on the left is for Deathcore Barbecue, like a barbecue company out of Texas. They hit me up for some shirt designs, and this was one of those instances where I was like, I really don't want to do a full color shirt design, but they're asking for something really crazy and they're kind of making a name for themselves. So I want to like put my work in there, while it's like still like fresh, I guess you can say.
Making me want some barbecue right now.
Oh, dude, I had a
Trying to get hungry.
I had a barbecue sandwich for lunch today. It was amazing.
Nice.
But it definitely gave me the meat sweats. I was hurting after that.
Oh god, I know what you mean. Because I like the like mesquite barbecue, so there's a little bit of heat in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, back to the design though. I'm just trying to get hungry.
So the guy wanted he's got like this mascot, this bull. The bull's name is Smokehouse. And he just like wanted like a cool piece of him for like a shirt design with like some like dead bodies hanging in the background. I was originally going to throw like some dead bodies on the grill, but it ended up like not looking good with the composition because I really like the way that those flames are just like real bright and vibrant and cast all the light on him.
Yeah.
This was definitely a very, very challenging piece, and I definitely took a lot of inspiration from James Bousma when I was doing this piece. I really studied a lot of like his work.
Soulfly cover kind of reminds me of it.
Yeah, a little bit, huh? Yeah.
The fire lighting. Yeah.
Yeah. You talking about the newest one that just came out?
Yeah. I mean, it came out at least last year, but it has a fire and lighting. So
okay.
You said James Bousma, so I was thinking that is a parallel. And the end piece looks nothing like it. I just the connecting dots in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, this piece was tough. This is a real tough piece to do, actually. And he like, it was one of those things where like I knew he wanted something so specific, and I had to like deliver. But I really wanted to challenge myself. It was a really fun challenge. I had a really good time doing this piece. I'm satisfied with it. And for like video game reference, because I take a lot of inspiration from video games. I don't think anybody's noticed yet, but I threw the cleavers in from Bloodborne. For his little meat cleavers. Nobody's pointed it out to me or anything, so it's kind of my own little reference.
Well, I just noticed the totally hip Godsmack tattoo. You know, on his.
Oh, you like that? It's sick, isn't it?
and then his other tattoo kind of reminds me of of like the Rock's tattoo.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to go for because he's supposed to be like this like Greek mythological being. So I wanted to have him like have like these these like tattoos kind of like make it look like he's like a little modern day Greek god. It's not really like it definitely looks like a Godsmack logo.
I'm just throwing shit at you.
Dude, I think it's hilarious. I think it's so funny because I was thinking it the entire time.
And you still did it.
Yeah, oh, hell yeah, I did it. I thought it was awesome. And the dude loved it too. He thought it was awesome too. And he even was like, what about like some cool like 90s tribal tattoos in there too?
Oh yeah, there you go.
I was like, that's pushing it. We can't do that. Yeah. But yeah, it's supposed to be like the son of Apollo, I think, or Apollo's son. That's what it's supposed to represent. It's all like little Greek references made into like kind of like 90s douchey tribal tattoos to get the manly appearance.
I like the way you colored his eyes. That's like cool because it makes it pop,
Oh yeah,
kind of green. That was smart.
Thanks.
Let's talk about this one on the right.
This one on the right. This was one of those ones where I got hit up by. It was for this guy who does music for this band called Prithee Secession. I think is what it's called, or that's how you say it, Prithee Secession. Really, really cool dude. He does like all the music on his own, and he pretty much like is the band. He does everything on his own. And he hit me up and was like, "Hey, I got this song. I need a single art for it. Do you think you'd come up with something cool?" And I should have sent you the work in progress picture of this piece too, because the work in progress of this picture, this piece came together so quickly. I did this like in like a couple days. I had just gotten back from California and I needed to do like a rough sketch for like an idea for him because it had already been like a week or so since he'd hit me up. And I like just real roughly sketched like basically what it is now. The exact same composition, the exact same colors. And he thought he was one of those clients where he was like, dude, that's so sick. Hell yeah, man. Can't wait to see the rest of it. And then I did like the rest of it, like the next session, which is what it is now. And I was like, man, this is awesome. I really hope he likes it. this is like one of my all-time favorite pieces I've done. I just think like it's so dramatic feeling, and there's a lot of tension in the left corner, but it's not like unwanted tension. I think it's very, very like it's very good like tension in a piece, because normally like you don't want, like a whole point of focus being like right up against the edge of a piece. But I think this piece, it worked out really, really well that way. With also the counterbalance of like that red kind of smoke coming out from the bottom of his feet, which is like a little bit of it. I think I really hit the mark with this one.
Yeah, I like it a lot too. It's power of strong shapes. The way you did the wing is really impressive to me. I love the like kind of like yellows peeking through.
Yeah, thank you. That was definitely my favorite part, was doing the wing, and then like the little fingers kind of make it look like it's almost like horns growing out of his head, but it's just like his fingers because he's like falling.
Ah, okay. Last thing too is like it's my eyes just like strong shapes, nice negative space. Like it's just good use of the foundations. So I like it a lot.
Thank you.
The face is really cool too. Like you have enough obscured that like it has an eerie feeling to it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
This one on the left, I love this one on the left. It's actually one of my favorite things you've done. Sorry,
this one
out of it.
Yeah, no, this one definitely is one of my favorites too. This was another part of that like trilogy for like the mini story for the Enterprise Earth album. This was actually the last part of it. It was the ritual, the summoner, and then the summoned. And this is like the summoned part of it, where basically there's this dark ritual happening, this evil summoner, and then he accidentally puts himself in like eternal damnation. And this is kind of like the result of that through the whole process. This is like what the story that I had in my head was. But I took a lot of this whole, like, I don't know, you've probably seen online people comment about it, but this whole album cover was heavily inspired by Diablo 2. That was like one of my favorite games growing up. And even like down to like the type of font that I used, I went through like loops to find out if I could use the font that they used for the box art for Diablo 2. And I found out that I could, so I definitely used it for this album.
How'd you go about that?
I had to do a lot of research. I had to just, because I saw it, people being like, oh yeah, this person used it here or this person used it there. And I eventually found a page where like it like had the type of font and like all the different areas that it's been used, and like all the license rights for it and everything. And I wanted to like just make sure that I was able to use it. So
yeah, I mean, for an album cover, I get it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this piece is just supposed to be like a demonic dude internally imprisoned on his throne, suffering.
Interesting. Yeah, he has kind of a kingly vibe to me. I see him as like very comfortable in his power, personally.
He could be that too. He could be enjoying his eternal torment.
He's just lounging a lot to me, you know?
I think like little parts of the story like that, or I like to leave that for up to interpretation. So I think that's a cool idea too.
Yeah, just really strong designs. And the thing on the right, sick as well.
Thank you. This thing on the right, this came together super quickly. It was for one of the single covers for the new Enterprise Earth album, for their song, I think, The Reaper's Servant. Either that one or Casket of Rust, I can't remember. Yeah, I just wanted something gross looking, like real gross in the face looking, real decrepit. And I sent it to them, and they were like, "That's insane. We love it. We want all the covers to look like this." I was like, "All right." So then I had to do this like 5 times.
I don't know if I put any more examples of that. I don't think I did. But yeah, I think it's really cool. It's like a fleshy banner kind of thing. Really
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What about this?
This one. This is the second part of the trilogy of like the little short story I wrote in my mind for this. This is the Dark Summoner is what we call him. He doesn't really have a name. We don't really have a backstory for him either. we just call him the Dark Summoner. And Travis originally came up with the idea of like an evil book, and that's pretty much all I had to work off with. So this is the image that I came up with, and I wanted like this guy like summoning something out of an evil book, and he's clearly becoming evil because of it. And there's like all these little, lost souls around him, and there's like a kind of like that stonish kind of stonish tomb vibe going on behind him. I wanted to keep that same vibe that I had on the first panel for the album cover in this picture, so I threw that in the background. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of this one.
Very cool. Yeah, the sigil things in the background, to me, it almost reminded me of like he's like speaking it out into the universe, like whatever he's saying, and then you see it like it's a movie, as he's speaking. So I kind of saw it as like sound waves in a way.
Oh, I can see that too. Instead of like a background that's just like, like powerful sound waves. I can see that. That's a really cool idea, actually. I like that. I'm very proud of this one.
Let's go to the next one. So this is some traditional stuff before you shifted to digital, right? And I can see the Stephen Gamble influence. You definitely can, even though it's a different medium.
Yeah, I really channel a lot of his energy into my traditional work for sure. I don't know. I think this was done with like gouache and watercolor, some of it with gouache, some of it half watercolor, half gouache, some of it straight gouache. I think the one on the far left is all gouache. I think that's how you say it, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the one on the far left was done with all gouache. The other two were done with watercolor. This style of work, I don't really do a whole lot anymore, but I think I had the most fun with it, and I think I like felt the most myself artistically doing stuff like this, even though it's like nothing close to what I do now. It definitely was like a style that made me popular on Reddit, that's for sure. People ate this up on Reddit.
So how do you even promote art on Reddit? I have not really ever tried.
Oh man, that's kind of like where I got like my very first initial following was Reddit. I just created an account and found a couple subreddits that
like
took to this.
Art or something?
Yeah, there was, I think the one subreddit that I posted to a lot was Creepy.
Okay.
And then the other one actually is a funny story, is called I'm Sorry, John, which is a subreddit.
No, I did participate. I got to show you.
You did too?
I got some shit to show you.
I don't know if I still have mine around, but I also participated in that subreddit, and it was like the first piece I did that got like thousands of likes online. I was like, this is insane. It was so funny.
I was like super late though on it, I'm just trying to. I mean, it came from an authentic place because I came up with a cool idea, but like, I wasn't in like the initial like idea and when it was like cool, because like how it is, man. The speed of the internet, especially people who are on Reddit, in terms of
that shit.
So like I was
instantly.
It's like, where were you a year ago?
Like, yeah, buddy, you're a little late. What are you doing here?
But yeah, I'll have to show you offline. It's kind of
please do. I gotta pull it up. I don't know where it's at right now, but I'll pull it up and show you eventually. It's really funny.
Put this one in the middle here. Is it like a bird skull?
I think I didn't really go for anything specific with this one. I think a lot of these ones with like the really creepy faces, I just wanted to make something really like unhuman,
creepy,
just something like not human at all, something that would just be like horrible to see, like if you're like in hell or something. It's kind of the idea that I was going with, and I think a lot of this stuff was what I was doing when I mentioned doing my more traditional work in Wyoming, and I think like a lot of this stuff just came from like a feeling of isolation, because I was primarily by myself out there. And I spent a lot of time working on art by myself. And I think just this subconscious feeling of isolation carried over into these works.
Yeah. And this thing on the right, it's like a Silent Hill character, right?
Yeah, that's Pyramid Head. That is another huge passion of mine is Silent Hill. I love Silent Hill. This was actually a commission too, and I don't really have the original anymore, which I'm a little bummed out about because I think this is like one of my most well put together pieces. But I'm glad somebody's enjoying it. You know, they paid for it and they're enjoying it, so that's all that matters.
It was like human figures, like in the corner there.
Yeah, they're supposed to be like
really
people imprisoned in cages, and he's like hanging them up, but they're like eternally awake, which is why I put like little white dots in their eyes.
Yeah,
they're like his like eternal caged, pets.
I like that a lot. Just for the sake of time, let's keep trucking.
Sure. Oh man, some of these are this is like when I mentioned earlier about like my breakthrough stuff. The first two, the ones on the left and middle, those are like the pieces that I was like, okay, I can be a good digital artist. I think I really, really nailed the mark with these ones in terms of like color and shadow and like bright colors and vibrancy and stuff. I'm very, very proud of how these came out. And there's like, a lot of mistakes that I see in them that I do differently. But I don't know. I don't really know what else to say about these pieces other than
I like them a lot too. Especially the one on the left there. Like just really cool color choices. And then like the blending of like soft edges and then like tight details is really nice.
Yeah, I wanted that one to feel really like big and atmospheric, make you feel like you're small looking into it.
Yeah, the person for scale is a nice touch.
Yeah, thanks. The one on the left was not left, in the middle. That one was actually part of like a trilogy of pictures that I did. I call it the what do they call it? The Elegy trilogy. And there's two more that are just like it, but a little bit differently, and they get a little bit more nightmarish, I guess. I don't really know what I was inspired by doing these pieces at the time, to be honest. Looking back, I think I just wanted
horror movies,
like really fucking sinister looking. I think I achieved it. That red glow is pretty good.
Yeah, it's really nice touch. I like how you drew the lamb there too.
Thank you. Little lamb's cool. The only thing I would have looking back on this one in the middle that I don't like, his like arm that's under the lamb is so incorrect that it bothers me so much. Like I'm looking at it and I'm like, where is that arm even coming from? And like he's got like two joints going on in that arm. It's just horrible.
Shit, you're right. Now I know
you can't unsee it. After I saw it, I was like, oh no.
Yeah. You're right. But hey man, I appreciate you being like, hey, put this one up on the slide deck.
No, I still love it, even though that's a huge fatal flaw to it. I think it's a great piece, solid piece.
Well, it's funny how I didn't even notice it, and I look at that stuff all the time. But now that you mention it, it's
very obvious.
Well, we'll move on. I don't want to.
No, dude, you're all good. You're not bashing.
I like the colors on this one. It's different than a lot of stuff you've done. The palette.
There's like this theme in like now that we're like picking apart my artwork, there's this theme in all of my artwork that's just like this subconscious isolation, hopeless feeling in like all my art. But I don't really feel that way doing these pieces.
You like fire a lot too.
I do like fire. I think the main reason why I like fire is because like I can just sit there and get as crazy with it as I want, and it'll look like fire because fire's unpredictable, and I don't have to necessarily focus on being correct or anatomically accurate or whatever. I can just have fun with it. My favorite detail in this piece is that little girl holding on to him. A lot of people don't notice it,
and I didn't see that until
I really achieved like hiding her in plain sight in this piece so well. And that's like the thing I'm most proud of, is that people really don't see her, even though she's like part of the main subject. You know what I mean?
My favorite with this one is the atmospheric perspective and those like little pinks and purples and blues in the background, dude, because it gives dimension to the older man in the front he doesn't have a lot of like color, right? He has a little bit of the red from the glow of the fire, but like you now have him pop forward because there's a really interesting color in the distance, and it's not too prominent. It's far from garish. Like I love those pinks and purples, man. Like
thank you.
Running around the canvas. I'm a sucker for that stuff right now, of like making sure that those little weird colors that aren't your like primary focal points are just like peppered in little parts of a painting to like give it like a dynamicism, you know?
Oh yeah. Kind of like break it up. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely very proud of this one. I think this is a solid piece. I mean, going back, there's every piece I've done, I just think like, God, I've done this differently. I've done that differently. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of this one.
It's cool, man. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
And it's funny, I see the Stephen Gamble so much more now that you mention it. I didn't even really think about it, but like the hazy aspects, you know?
Yeah, that's I really take his style with me and everything that I do. He's probably like my number one influence, just because like that's the artist I remember the most as a kid, and that just I think like the artist that made the first impression on you as a kid is like what you carry the most with. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. For me, it's Stephen Gamble wasn't my guy. My person, it's Tim Jacobus, the guy who did all the Goosebumps covers.
Dude, I'm so glad you brought him up, because I was gonna mention him in my big four, but dude, it's impossible to name a big four. And I had like pulled up his profile on Instagram and everything.
I need to reach out to him to see if he'd be down.
Oh yes, please.
It'd be like a left field, like no one would expect it, but a very interesting interview.
I think it'd be something that everybody would be so stoked about, because he is like defined so many childhoods throughout everywhere. Like he's like the defining artist of just a whole generation growing up who loves horror. You know what I mean?
Totally.
These
back
pieces,
to your stuff, though, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. These pieces were also heavily inspired by video games. The girl on the left, that's Lisa from the playable teaser that Silent Hill put out like 10 years ago. And then just never made a Silent Hill game ever again after that, and just let everybody down.
Hey, you sound bitter about that.
We'll spend too much time talking about Silent Hill if I get into it, so I'm not even going to say anything more.
Okay.
I think I actually have some prints of her somewhere around here. I like how that one came out. Really like drippy feeling, like she's like splattered onto like the image. I really got that down well. The one in the middle, that is Ludwig from Bloodborne, another Bloodborne reference, which I've actually never played Bloodborne. I just love the art that goes into it so much that I just draw it all the time. But if you've ever played Bloodborne, that's who that is. He's just a big, ugly, half monster, half horse, half deformed horse looking thing. He's got a big sword. I say that's like the only thing I did wrong with this piece is not emphasize that sword more. It doesn't even really look like a sword, but he's holding like a sword like upside down like this.
That's a tough angle, but yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously Pyramid Head again, another Silent Hill.
Oh, I see. I think with that, you just needed to have that background have more contrast, then it would have popped more. I get what you mean though, and then it's more foreshortening.
Yeah, you're talking about the sword in the middle. Yeah.
I see what you mean though.
Yeah, and like I was still very, very new. Like these are the very, very early digital artworks that, you know, when my first year of doing digital art, this was like the style that I was doing.
Yeah.
Obviously my watercolor style transferred over really, really well to this style, which I don't really do this style a whole lot anymore.
I mean, I
think I've grown.
I don't think it's a development, but I still see the roots in it. Like like some loose aspects to your work that are still there, like loose in a good way?
And that's one thing too that like I want to be better at is like honing in on like tighter details, like these people um like James Bausma, for example. Like I think his details, or like Shindy, his details are just so tight and so rich that I'm like, I want to achieve that, but I don't draw that way at all, so it's hard for me to get that effect. But I do. I think I do well with my loose effect.
I mean, there's two ways to develop your artistic voice. You either double down on your strengths or you work on your weaknesses.
That's very true.
Those are the two avenues.
And it's hard, like picking. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard being an artist because you just want to like take every little thing and like, you know, go that direction with it. It's hard to like I said earlier, it's like really hard to like hone in on like my style because I just take from so much.
Oh yeah, same here. One for me, it's always the grass always greener. The art that I get inspired by and I really, really appreciate oftentimes is very loose art, but my art's for the most part pretty tight and rendered. And it's like I can't even avoid it if I wanted to. It's like it's a compulsion.
I don't know how you do it. Your art's very tight. It's very, very well put together. Like every line like has a purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which I kind of, to a certain degree, it's like, all right, give the people what they want, you know, because I enjoy it too. But dude, one of my favorite artists, and every time I see his stuff, it just always blows me away. His name is Matthias Bergera. He's a comic artist primarily, but dude, his stuff is like unreal to me. I literally take a screenshot of every post he does because it's watercolor, pen and ink, like, and just so much style in it. I talk about him quite a bit on the
I'm gonna have to look him up
because I just I want an art book from him, just strictly art. He's still like very much like in his prime now though, you know, and sometimes the art books kind of come out when you're more like, I don't know, further in your career, I guess. I think he's due for one, but his work just blows me away. It's such full of life. So I'll send it over. He always sticks with me because I'm trying to incorporate some of that more brushy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But once again, back to you. This isn't about.
I don't know. I mean, I enjoy talking about your art just as much too. But the one on the far right, that pyramid head again. Right. I have nothing else to say with that. He's like my favorite. I think my favorite character design of all time is Pyramid Head, because
so freaking creepy, man.
Like that is something just like that is so terrifying to see, and in everything he's ever been in, every time I see him, I'm just like, God, I'd shit myself if I saw that. Like that's so horrible. And it's just the whole like concept of his design too is that like the artist, he's talked about this, who's designed Pyramid Head, he wanted to just basically make something look like it was in pain, which is why he's got the big pyramid head, because it just like represents like constant pain, just something that's
neck pain,
just something that's in constant pain. I got to do more artwork of him. I haven't done him in a while, so maybe I'll take my hand at him again. But he's definitely my favorite character design of all time. It's just the scariest thing that's ever been designed.
I agree. Well, cool, man. That's the slides. So as we're wrapping up here, we've touched on a lot of good, I think, advice or encouragement for developing artists, but what's maybe one thing you'd like to leave for folks who are maybe trying to find their style, or beginner to like early intermediate level?
Do what feels right to you, I guess, is the best thing that I can say. I find myself like a lot of times struggling with a piece, and the reason why I'm struggling with it is because I'm trying to make it look too much like somebody that I like rather than make it my own. And once I kind of like and take a step back and be like, well, let me just do what I think feels right to me rather than like look at somebody else's work. I think that really, really goes a long way. It's just doing what feels right to you.
Very cool.
And yeah,
keep doing it.
Keep doing it. Just fucking draw nonstop. That's all you can do.
Yeah. Well, sweet. Well, Chris, very much appreciate you being on the show. Obviously, we're going to keep in touch and everything. For everybody watching, please check out Chris. It's Dementula 3D on Instagram. I'll have it in the description here. If you like the albums that he does art for, purchase those. Support the musicians as well. And if he releases any prints, like on an Etsy shop or anything, keep an eye out. But Chris, I'm excited just like for the future for you, man. Like, I like how you're still so hungry and like, I don't know. It's really fun for me because I like talking with folks in different levels of their career.
Yeah.
And like, I like talking with you because I can tell that like you're not done yet, and I really enjoy that.
Yep. Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely. Means a lot coming from you. Been a huge fan of yours for a long time. A huge fan of the show. So really, it meant a lot being on here. So really, really appreciate everything.
Yeah, no sweat. Well, for everybody, new episodes every Thursday. Like and subscribe if you don't mind, and see you next Thursday. Thank you.